I was Team Gale when I first read The Hunger Games. Honestly, that might be the most unpopular opinion I say in this entire video. I was Team Gale. I have since gone to therapy and I'm now Team PETA. Hi besties, welcome. Today I hope your day feels like when it's the first good weather in a really long time and you just want to spend all day outside because it's breezy and beautiful and you can finally wear long sleeves again. So I decided to do a slight variation on the unpopular opinions book tag, and instead of answering that specific set of questions, I'm reacting to your unpopular opinions, reading habits, reading pet peeves. So I asked some questions on Instagram and had all of you answer and respond to them. And today I'm going to be reading through them and sharing my thoughts, reacting to opinions, etc. First, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who submitted answers to the questions, for taking a little bit of time out of your day to help me film this video. Don't forget to like this video and comment down below your answers because I want to hear what your bookish opinions and pet peeves and habits are. Every time I do a video like this where I need help from y'all, I do it through my Instagram. So I'll leave that in the description so you can follow so you don't miss out on this like the next time I do a similar video. Okay, so the first question that I asked on my story was, tell me your biggest bookish / reading pet peeves. I want to hear what people get angry about when they're reading. This one said, when I'm trying to read and even have earphones on, but people still keep talking. This is a massive pet peeve of mine because if I'm sitting and reading, I'm usually very immersed in whatever I'm reading. I do not do well when I'm like reading and I have outside stimuli because it really pulls me out and then it takes me a while to like sink back into the world of the book I'm reading. So I 100% agree with this one. I hate it when people talk to me or ask me questions while I'm reading. And if I'm like in the middle of a sentence or a chapter, I'll be like, you have to hold on for 5 minutes. I'll talk to you when I'm done, because I don't want somebody asking me like a silly question or something to ruin my reading experience of something I'm really enjoying. A few different people said movie adaptation covers on books. Absolutely agree. I hate them. I don't like seeing people on the covers of books because I like to imagine the characters for myself based on what the author gives me and not like have a picture of the characters in mind because they're on the cover. My sweet and lovely cousin responded, characters doing out of character actions just to further the plot. This drives me insane. When I'm reading a book and a character does something and you can tell the author was just in a sticky spot and needed something to happen so that they could get to point B, it drives me crazy when it's like out of character for the character. I can't speak English because I will be reading it and I will think to myself, they wouldn't do this. I have spent the last 200 pages getting to know this character very intimately and hearing their thoughts, and it makes no sense that they would choose to do this. Multiple people said like annotating in books, highlighting, writing, using pens in books. I do this all the time. I used to not. I used to absolutely hate having any marks, any folds, anything in my books. I wanted them to be pristine and in perfect condition. And now I'm much more of the mind that when I write in books and highlight in books, it means the book is loved, and then when I read it again or when I revisit it, it's easy to see the parts that meant a lot to me or that I really liked the first time I read it when I was a different age. And so I like to be able to see how things have changed. I go through a lot with my books. Like, my books really make me feel a lot, and I want there to be proof of that, I guess. I think that changed a lot when I got to college because I had to do that in my textbooks and things to study, and then I realized how much it could help me, and so I started doing that with the books I read for fun too. I'm sorry to everyone who says they hate pen and highlighter on books. I really mark my books up. Okay, a couple people said breaking the spines of books or bending spines back. I really like to do this. In high school, I would not be caught dead bending a spine back of a paperback, and now I love doing it because I love just like holding the paperback. What I'm talking about to demonstrate my point is like I'll like bend the spine back like this while I'm reading it. I just like my books to be like loved, and I feel like when they're a little bit beat up, it shows that I loved it and like spent time with it. But some people did say they hate it when you lend a friend a book and they do that, and that is 100% understandable. You should not treat books that you've been loaned the same way you treat your own books that you've purchased. But with my own books, I can do whatever I want. Someone said love triangles. Does that count? Yeah, I don't really like them very much either. I have liked them before. Like I like the love triangle in the Hunger Games. Nobody come for me. I was Team Gale when I first read the Hunger Games, but I like that love triangle. But normally it's not my favorite trope. I also don't read very much romance. I read books about other things that have romance in them. So I feel like I don't have to worry about it too much. I can stand annoying side characters, but when the main character is annoying, no thanks. I have mixed feelings on this because I do really like books with unlikable narrators sometimes. Like I really liked Trust Exercise by Susan Choi, and I thought the narrator of the first half of that book was so annoying. Same with My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I would argue that the main character of that book is not necessarily likable. She's quite cold. I guess unlikable isn't the same thing as annoying. I don't like annoying characters. I deal with enough annoying people in my real life every day that I don't necessarily want to read it on the page. I just talked myself into agreeing with you. Deckled edges. It makes it harder to turn the page and the book more expensive. I hate deckled edges. I'll die on this hill. What is the point? To make the book look old-timey? It doesn't. We have to talk about dog-earing pages. One of my coworkers and very good friends put dog-earing pages because he knows that I dog-ear my pages, and we fought about it recently at work. And we'll fight again. I sometimes use a bookmark, I sometimes use a receipt, but I also dog-ear my pages. And I've recently started like dog-earing the bottom of the page to mark a page that I liked or that has a quote on it that I liked. I don't know if that's normal. I dog-ear the top of the page for like where I am in the book, and I dog-ear the bottom of the page to mark a page that's significant for whatever reason. A lot of you said you hated people who dog-eared. So unsubscribe, I guess. I'm living my truth. My sweet friend Charles said she doesn't mind dog-earing pages because it makes a book look loved, and that's how I feel about it. This person said when people only read the first 50-ish pages of a book before deciding to DNF, how much are you supposed to read? If I'm not liking a book after 50 pages, life is too short for me to keep reading that book. If I'm 50 pages in and I'm really not into it and it's gonna put me in a reading slump, I would much rather DNF it than like push myself to finish it and not like it, I guess. Sonali responded to these. Sonali is one of my YouTube besties, and if you don't watch her videos, you should go check her out because she cracks me up. She's very funny. I love her energy. But she said love triangles and enemies to lovers because I swear neither are ever done right. I feel that. I feel like a lot of times enemies to lovers is just kind of ends up being kind of toxic. Allie said when a man writes a female character. Done. Agreed. Why are they doing that? Multiple people said tiny font. Agreed. Why does the font have to be so small that I have to hold the book 2 inches from my face to read it? Like, I'd rather there be more pages of normal sized font than fewer pages of the tiniest font I've ever seen. It makes me feel like an old person to say that because like I see all of my family members with their size 72 point font on their cell phones, and I'm like, I can read your text from across the room. Do you not value your privacy? But in terms of books, it's true. I'm reading Anna Karenina right now and the font is so tiny and it makes me feel like I will never get through it. Other people said long chapters. 100%. I love a good short or medium length chapter. Because also what some other people said was that they have to finish a chapter before they stop reading. And I'm the same way. I will get to the end of a chapter or the end of a section of a book before I put it down for the day or before I put it down. But my brain is very stuck on completion. I have to finish something before I do anything else. That being said, it's much harder for me to read that way when they're really long chapters because if I have to stop, I have to stop. When the ending is predictable, same for the most part. If I read a thriller or a horror and I can guess the ending, that makes me so mad. And I love it when a book takes me by surprise. But in some genres, I don't feel as much of a need to be shocked. Or even worse, I'd rather have a predictable ending than a cheap ending. And I hate it in thrillers and horror books when it's very obvious the author wanted to have a twist ending and shock the reader, and so they do something that makes no sense to the book because it's shocking. That drives me crazy. That's how I felt about Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. My best bud Lawson said stickers that don't come off. But I have a couple life hacks for you, Lawson, and anybody else who hates stickers on books. I just wish they didn't exist. Just don't put stickers on books is my preference. But here's my life hacks. One is peel off as much of the sticker as you can and then use an eraser and like erase over the sticker gunk. And for whatever reason, the eraser like dries the sticker gunk and gets it off. and just keep doing that, and eventually it'll be gone. But if that's too much work, get a bottle of Goo Gone and then spray a little bit of it on like a Q-tip or paper towel and like go over it and then wipe it off with a wet paper towel, and you'll have a book looking brand new. I hope that helps, bud. My friend Adeline said when it's alternate perspectives but one is obviously more developed, oh my god, this drives me crazy. It's like you can feel that the author liked writing in one narrative better and spent more time on it, or like had a more fleshed out vision of it, but wanted the book to be dual perspective. I'm like, just write it in one perspective. Agreed, Addie. Ray said when people lick their fingers before turning the page, just cope like the rest of us, try some lotion. You're not wrong. I do not like to see people lick a page and then turn. Now your saliva is on the... When I say I want my books to be well loved, that is not what I mean. Seriously, try some lotion or get a paper cut for all I care, but like, ew, gross. That makes me uncomfy. Next question was, tell me what are your weirdest reading habits or quirks? Some of these are really wild. I was baffled. Vic said closing the book at an embarrassing scene and reacting audibly to no one. I do this all the time. I swear, if somebody just like filmed me reading, okay, I do that all the time. I film myself reading. I don't know. I do this all the time. I react as though people are watching me, and they're not. Multiple of you said you will read the last page or last lines of a book before starting it or before committing to read it. That is so heinous. Why? You're just spoiling it for yourself. How can anything catch you by surprise? This cracks me up because my favorite movie of all time is When Harry Met Sally, and Harry in that movie does this.
I have just as much of a dark side as the next person.
Oh, really? When I buy a new book, I always read the last page first. That way, in case I die before I finish, I know how it ends. That, my friend, is a dark side.
But I think he and the rest of you who do this are heinous. Someone said, I get super paranoid when I'm in the last few pages that someone will interrupt me. I get paranoid about this every time I read a book, and that is because it happens all the time. My family members, my friends who call me, the people in my life have unbelievable timing, and it happens all the time. I will be in like the climax of a book and I will be starting to cry, and then my phone will ring really loud, or somebody will walk through the door and start talking to me. It drives me nuts. It's probably my biggest pet peeve reading, and it makes me actually like very viscerally angry, which I should work on. Jillian said I have to read in one sitting. Jillian, does this mean that you have to read an entire book in one sitting? If so, that's really impressive. Mary Duvall said I love smelling books. Me too. I love smelling books so much. Books smell so good, especially old books. And they actually like make candles now that are supposed to smell like old books. Charlie said making the faces described in the book with my face subconsciously. I do this subconsciously and I do this on purpose. Sometimes if an author's describing a face somebody's making and I can't picture it, I'll have to do it and like figure out the mechanics of it so that I can picture it in my head. I definitely feel that, Charlie. Addie also said I cannot do an e-reader. Like, bro, I've tried and I can't. I'm the same way. I have tried so many times to be a Kindle person, or even to read assignments in college on my computer. And even then, I would have to go to the library every day when I got assigned a reading and print it out if it was an online resource, because I cannot read online or on a screen. I hate it. It makes my head hurt. I get really unfocused really quickly. It has to be on a physical page because my brain really struggles with reading stuff on a screen. Listening to audiobooks on 2x speed. I do this too. I usually don't do 2x speed. I usually do 1.75 speed, and it depends on the narrator. Audiobooks are too slow. If it's not at a higher speed, I'll get really distracted while I'm listening. Eliana said, I read with a headlamp before bed instead of a light or book light, and I like it more. That actually makes a lot of sense because I feel like then the headlamp is going exactly where you're looking and it casts a wider light. Also, that's very on brand for you, Eliana. I love to hear it. My pal Patrick said, I'll read a suspenseful book and know something's coming and jump to the end of the page. I do this too. It's like on accident. I don't want to do it and spoil it for myself. But if it's really well written and it's really suspenseful, I do it like subconsciously. And sometimes I'll have to like put my hand over the bottom of the page so I don't do that. I simply can't read in bed. Like, I just can't do it. I don't read in bed either. I feel like that's where most people read, and I just really for the most part don't. I read upright in a chair because otherwise I'll fall asleep. Anytime I'm horizontal, I'll fall asleep. If there's one thing I like more than reading, it's sleeping. If I'm in bed, I'm probably sleeping. not reading. I don't watch TV or movies in bed. I don't read in bed. I sleep in bed. My ADHD brain sometimes tells me to read paragraphs and sections out of order. I could never do that, but that's because my OCD brain has to read things in order and to completion before I move on to anything else. That's so funny how different like mental illnesses can really affect the way you read. I hadn't thought of that before. My OCD very much contributes to my weird reading habits. I like often, because of my OCD, won't let myself go pee even if I really have to pee until I finish a chapter. Is that healthy? No, it's not. Should you do that? No, you shouldn't. That's what happens in my little brain, pretending to read like I'm recording an audiobook sometimes. I do this all the time. If I'm reading an Irish book or like a British book, I will read it out loud to myself in the accent. That's embarrassing to admit, but it's true. Sometimes I do. But I also used to think I wanted to be an audiobook narrator for a living. My friend Riley said, don't know if this counts, but I'll lay upside down and read with like my head hanging down. Doesn't all the blood rush to your head and then you get a massive headache and then you get dizzy when you sit up? How is this practical, Riley? Explain yourself in the comments. And the last question I have was, now hit me with your unpopular book opinion. Y'all delivered. Someone said The Song of Achilles wasn't as heartbreaking as everyone made it out to be. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one, bestie, because that book made me not just cry, but weep. Greek mythology, including retellings, is boring as fuck. I think for the most part, Greek mythology is super interesting, actually. I really like Greek mythology. I was such a Greek mythology nerd in middle school. My friend Lila said Mr. Darcy is overrated. Look, I love me some Mr. Darcy, but I think everyone would be doing a lot better if they were looking for a Bingley instead of a Darcy. We all say we want a Darcy, but we really want a Bingley, because is stability and a motherfucking compliment too much to ask for? Some film adaptations are better than the books. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I agree with this. For example, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, one of my favorite books of all time, still think the movie is better. I think it's okay that sometimes they take a work and improve upon it and make it even better than the original. And I think we should be grateful that we can experience stories in so many different ways. Someone said friends to lovers is a way better trope than enemies to lovers. Y'all are just toxic. Truly, truly though, friends to lovers is just such a good trope. Can y'all give me down below your favorite friends to lovers books that aren't fantasy or sci-fi? Because I would like to read some soon. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of the video. I will leave my Goodreads and my Instagram in the description. Like this video if you liked it, and comment down below your answers to the questions that I asked. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I have a super secret subscriber goal in my head that I want to reach before my birthday, which is in November. It would be super dope if you hit that subscribe button and help me hit that goal for my birthday. I'm gonna go keep reading Anna Karenina in the tiniest font of all time. In case you haven't heard it today, I love you. Bye.